me that opportunity today.
Yeah.
And you guys don't even realize how much that kind of stuff means to somebody who's worked his whole life just to be able to race.
Yeah.
And it may not look like it when you look at my stuff, but I've never ever relented since 5 years old. It started in 1968, and I've never relented. And these guys gave me that opportunity to have a different discipline in my life of racing at a later age, and I really respect the fact that they didn't look at me that way. They elevated me, they taught me, and never made me feel like I wasn't part of the gang. And that's because Bob Urkus, I think I'm saying that correctly, him and his wife, they worked tirelessly to make sure we're all a group again.
Yeah.
And that's what I see. Now, I don't know whether it's 100% accurate or not, but I know that that's the guy that's making
he's the face.
He's the face right now.
And then really even George, I don't know George well. I've known him for many years, but not well. I mean, I'm just an acquaintance. We know each other, and I don't know if I told him or somebody else. I think in the 20 years I've known him or known of him, he's probably said 20 words to me the whole time.
Well, he doesn't.
He's just very reserved to himself. He's focused.
George is very low key, and
yes,
when he takes care of business, that's what he does.
But we sure had a good
bonfire. Exactly. And I had a hard time at the last barbecue trying to get him on a podcast. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I was like, come on. I go, just give me a little content. And we started talking, and he just really opened up. And it was just neat seeing, because I'm not a Track Magic guy. I mean, I owned a Track Magic, but I'm not part of the core group.
Like me.
Yeah, I'm not part of that core group. Right. And seeing George is like, George is part of that core group. Yes. You know, let's tap into some of that history.
Well, George was there when I was there.
Yeah.
George was in the back room doing other things. He was just getting started there. And Mimo Gidley was sleeping in his truck out behind the shop when I was there. And so I know Mimo because of that. I run into him years later, and he still remembers all of it and all the experiences we all went through. He was coming in as I was going out.
Yeah.
And Mimo's probably one of the big reasons why they went as far as they did right away, I would think, because they had such talent. And I think Joey Hand went through the shop as well, but not sure.
I think Joey, if someone wants to chime in and correct us, but I think he was more of an Emmett guy.
Okay.
But there was that rivalry.
Yeah, Mike Speed, Scott Speed.
Yeah, they went through Track Magic.
They went through Track Magic.
And I know those guys.
And Alex, of course.
Yeah. And one of the funniest things I kind of started thinking about today is all current karting in the sprint side, spec. We need spec. We need out of the box, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm looking at Jason LaPointe's 1999 winning Honda.
Yeah.
That is not out of the box from Honda.
No.
And I remember being around all these different great programs and seeing how much work was put into the driving, into the chassis, and into the engine.
Right.
And there was so much effort placed on all of them.
Right.
But it wasn't just engine getting the jet in its spec and, everybody's the same.
Yeah.
It was, I need to find more than that guy. I need to find more than that guy. And there was so much development and technology going on. And I don't see that anymore. I see guys working their ass off, but I don't see that development, that production of creative ideas. I mean, remember the Track Magic seat struts that they got banned in Phoenix?
Right, because they become
it was suspension
piece.
Right? It was suspension.
Gorilla was telling me about
this.
It was like 3/10.
Yeah, they tried to call it a suspension piece, and the argument was, well, define suspension. And so for those of you that don't know, it's a seat strut that has a polyurethane or
it's a really thick skateboard-looking bushing.
Yeah, so it's a seat strut with a polyurethane or a plastic rubber, I don't know, spacer between the two pieces, and they were bolted together. And it was just creative.
It was to take the vibration out, I believe.
It was creative. Yeah, and it was just thinking out of the box. And you look at different carts out there, and it's like, oh, look at that. It's like when Mamo came out with his chassis, and he put the struts from the C-hangers back to the mid-waist of the frame.
Okay.
And it's just like, oh, wait, that's different.
So, the Outlaw Kart thing, not to go off what you're talking about, but the Outlaw Kart thing is like that now. right now it's so heavy duty like that right now. One guy's starting a chassis company, another guy at QRC who's got their very established, because QRC is really the company that started it all with Robert Carroll and now Jimmy Elledge. But then we had Ryan Foster Racing, and Ryan Foster sold his team off, and now another guy, he's doing whatever he's doing with it. But now we have Kevin Shera and SRT, and he's trying to start his company up. And so it's really right now a dichotomy of individuals that are trying to do like what was going on back in the day with what you guys were all doing,
yeah.
you know, and advance it a little bit. But we're all trying to say, we've been there, done that, and it's good that we're trying to pick up time here and there, but isn't it better to try to keep the thing within a certain dollar and cent value so that everybody that works, that wants to do this and has that mentality can get involved?
Yeah.
You know, and it's because karting's getting expensive in general.
I just racing.
Yeah,
racing in general. Yeah, just racing in general. But and a big part of it too is that you need to find that fine line between, you know, making it so it's accessible to people, and but also having some technology to keep people that get bored easy.
Yeah.
Hey, let's keep developing. Let's keep building.
Yes.
I mean, come on, 2002, 2003 Moto, those things were stupid.
Yeah.
The technology, the effort, the maintenance, they were ridiculous. And by all accounts, it pretty much killed shifter kart racing of that Honda segment. Then everyone went to ICC. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, you don't need to blueprint them. Well, it didn't take long for a crazy Swede to figure out how to make them a little faster. And then they're back on modified engines. Wow. And then you had now...
Miami and all that.
Yeah, well, in the middle, you had spec stock Honda. Introduced back to karting. It's like, okay, but the engine builders... You can play a little bit, but not a lot. Right. It has to be within these parameters. And that stock Honda package exploded for years. Mm. And
that's great to bring that back.
Well, there was a little bit of technology. There was a little bit of spec. There was that balance.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we're kind of in that sweet spot, and it just exploded. And but looking at some of these Track Magic cards, it just takes me back to that time when you go the track on like a Wednesday at Dixon, and Mamo was out there, or some of the other Track Magic guys are out there testing. I remember one time I was out there, and Mamo showed up for about 30 minutes. Did some laps, loaded up, and went home. I was like, where are you going? And he goes, I was just trying some stuff. It didn't work. Boom. Like, he didn't waste time.
Right.
It's like, okay, he drove back to the factory, and he was always out at Dixon. And just coming into these barbecues and these events kind of reminds me of those days. You look at these cars, and sorry, Joe, you're vintage now. I have to break that to you.
I know.
You're vintage now, but I'm breaking it to myself as well.
Yeah, but I broke into the sport vintage.
Yeah.
Age and car.
But you're looking at the progression of the go-karts, and a couple of guys that had said, man, remember in the good old days when you had the Track Magic and there was development testing and stuff? And they said, look at the new European chassis, or even like Gary's kart, the GFC. They go, you look at it, look how refined and how much technology has evolved.
It's amazing.
In 20 years.
Yeah.
To where we were to where we are. And that part is extremely exciting.
And they're super fast.
The brakes and the chassis and, oh, geez.
I got passed by some real cars today.
Yeah. And it's that progression. So it's healthy to have progression. But a big focus is like, okay, well, we also need to make it accessible.
Yes,
definitely.
And these days, this barbecue was perfect for accessibility.
I got another friend of mine that'll be out here with this next time. He was actually involved in the shifter kart. He was a dirt guy. For anybody who knows who Tanner Thorson is, he's a big time midget racer in the world of sprint cars and midgets, dirt oval stuff. Anyway, Daniel is his cousin. Daniel worked for me for quite a while, and he was the first person I could think of to call up today because he had run the sprint karts, and he actually left it because it was so difficult on the cost wise, and a few other things, clicks and stuff like that. He felt like it was more family at the dirt track than it was in here. But today, because it is a play day, and because there's no hard feelings at the end of the day, everybody goes away kumbaya.
Yeah.
And it expands the opportunity in the shifter kart world or just road course, sprint kart racing, to get this opportunity at such a low price. This was $2,200 a runner.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything before we got here. Nothing. And
you're going home with a smile on your face?
Oh, man, dude. And wore out. And so sore.
You got that right.
I don't even get sore racing the dirt cars anymore. I train for it. But, man, there's a whole different world of training on this that you're going to have to do.
Well, and it was great seeing how many guys just showed up this weekend.
Yes.
It was really neat to see.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Don Dahlia Construction is really put himself out there. He's purchased quite a bit of the carts, the used Track Magics, and he's doing a really good job as a curator of the vintage carts to make sure he continues the beauty of the vintage cart. This thing that I have needs a lot of work, but the cars that he has are absolutely pristine, and they're old.
Yeah.
He has a great variety of shifter carts.
Yes.
And it's just amazing, how he just got involved and he's having a blast with us. Yeah, with all the guys but first of all, for Gary, to spend all the time, to make his cart and to have Track Magic on it is a very special feeling for Fausto and all of us.
Yeah.
So, and I've known Fausto, since back in 1977, and to see all these guys is like a big family to me.
Well, someone had mentioned to me, and I don't know if it was Kyle or Oliver, but they called Gary kind of the last of the Mohicans, last of the bunch, because Gary was a factory driver when Fausto had passed.
Yes. Well, the thing was, when I found out that Fausto passed away, I'm the one that made the call to Gary.
Oh, you had to call him.
I'm the one that called him, and it was very, very emotional. And he goes, so Gary asked me, "Oh, Joe, what should I do?" I go, "Well, the first thing, Fausto wouldn't want you to quit. He wants you to race, and he wants you to win." And so that day, I just waited. Hopefully I get some good news, but I didn't get no news.
Yeah.
Until the following morning, he showed up back home, and he showed me the trophy, and he won. And we just broke into tears, and all of a sudden, Tony, Fausto's son, he showed up, and we just all broke down and just cried and just hugging each other. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it was. I happened to be in Tucson for that event, and it was the most surreal podium presentation I've seen, because everyone knew of Fausto's passing, and when Gary was on the top step, there was joy, but there was no celebration. It was just a weird. It was a weird feeling. It's like everyone knew.
No, I've been there.
Yeah, and then Gary just, Gary being Gary, just let his emotions out. Wow. And it's just one of those very touching memories and feelings that you just carry with you.
Yeah.
And it's great to see Gary being a part of the new rebranding of the Track Magic.
Yeah, that was pretty badass yesterday.
I mean, that was so special. And, I want to thank Jeff Duskins, too, to be out here, driving, 4 hours to get up here to shoot, the photos of us. And
so I'll have a link on NorCalCarters.com to all of Jeff's stuff. So that way we can show the right representation of the new chassis, your group that was out here yesterday. I saw a couple pictures on Facebook, and it was impressive. You guys lined everything up on the grid. You unveiled the cart.
Oh, yes.
And you had the Track Magic, the original, the drivers in their gear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just, I wasn't here for that one, but seeing it on Facebook, it's like, this is a great event. You guys did a really nice job.
Yeah, there's quite a few drivers. I want to point out Lisa Caceres, Memo Gidley, Tom Dyer, Brett Buckwalter. I'm glad Landon showed up today, and he got some track time. So he got in the mix, and he did well. And I just want to thank Track Magic, everyone that was involved. So special, and I felt great meeting you too, Jason. Back in the day, club racing, it was a lot of great times. It was good. So
Well, I'm glad someone took the initiative to make something like this happen because it was just a lot of fun. It just brings a different perspective.